What DAW controller should I buy? This one. But I mean, honestly, this one, the Avid S4 or the Avid S6, they are unreal how good they are. These are absolutely amazing. I would now I have one. I could never go down to a small format one. These are just unbelievable how good they are, for many reasons. Basically, just quickly in a nutshell, what this sort of big console DAW controller is. Think of this as your DAW as hardware. So it's no longer mouse, keyboard, looking at screen, how you would normally look at your DAW. So Cubase, Pro Tools, Logic, any of them. It's no longer on the computer. It's all in front of you. Everything's in front of you. The complete console is in front of you. Every single piece of controllable ability inside your DAW is all controlled on that. So you don't actually have to touch your mouse, you don't have to touch your keyboard. The only time you have to touch your keyboard is to type anything in. So what DAW controller is the best? Avid S6 or Avid S4. The problems you've got with that is they're not cheap. They are not cheap at all. The small version of this, that is like the entry level, is £21,500. I mean, that is an extortionate amount of money. This one was 38,000. They can go up to 100, 200,000 for the S6, and you would think that's a lot of money, and that is not cheap, and that is by no means cheap. And who in their right mind is spending that sort of money on DAW control? And the answer is industry people who have studios, basically big studios that require consoles for workflow purposes. The average guy sitting at home producing music, you don't need this. This is a huge luxury item for if you were sitting at home as a producer, as a music producer or songwriter. This would be, if you'd really made a lot of money and you wanted to just have one for the sake of having one. You don't need one. Right, so these are the best. These are what I would consider the best. But if you were to want to get one, a smaller one, and you're talking between, let's say, you can get really cheap ones, and then you can get more expensive ones. And obviously the more expensive ones are better, and they do a lot more. And then you've got the cheaper ones, which feel a little bit cheaper. I mean, I had an Icon 8-channel one, and after a couple of years of use, faders got a little bit sticky, things like that. Buttons, where you were pressing them a lot, they got a bit, spongy as such. Didn't work as well. Had to have a real good push to get them to work. So you got the cheaper ones, and they're like £250, and they it worked. They work very well. But obviously you buy them cheap. Buy the cheaper ones, you get a cheaper one. The ones I would recommend, the Avid S1 is very good, and you can get the dock with that, which is very good, and that basically gives you a very small version of this. The solid state Logic UF8, now that one is very good. I really enjoyed using that. And you can also get the UC1 controller as well for that, with the SSL EQ and compressor in it. That's really good. As my friend Danny's got a 2 UF8s either side of a UC1 controller, and it looks great, and he's getting really good mixes on that because he's fully hands-on control across everything. He's hands-on control of the DAW, hands-on control of his EQ and compression. So that's working really well for him. Other ones you've got, yeah, like Avid Artist Mix. That's kind of a little bit discontinued, I think, now. The Avid S1 is really good. You've got a solid state Logic Nucleus as well, which is a larger version. This is that's the version I used to use before getting this console. What else do you have? The Icon stuff, and you've got what's the other one? A PreSonus. PreSonus one's good. Now the one thing I will say about the PreSonus one is it's very good to use with Studio One. Not so good if you want to use it with other DAWs. It's very much built for Studio One and has that direct control of Studio One really, really well, because it's a controller for that specific software, rather than being a controller for other pieces of software. It does work with other DAWs, but it's perfectly fine. But there are a few little things that I know of someone who's got one and uses it with Logic, and it wasn't the best. But if you use it with Studio One, it was amazing. It done everything you wanted in Studio One. So I mean, what one would I recommend buying if I was a music producer? Right, so let's break it down to, if I was a music producer who wanted to spend £1,000 max on a DAW controller, which one would I buy? I would buy the Solid State Logic UF8. Yeah, I would buy that. It's a very, very good DAW controller. It does everything you need, and it looks really good as well. It's a toss-up between the S1 and the Avid S1 and the UF8. I think I would go with the UF8 for that. If I was to go budget, 200 odd pound. I mean, you're talking Behringer price range. They do a little 8-channel. The Icon stuff, I would probably go with £200. I'd go with the Icon, the cheaper Icon stuff, and that was the Command D or something, I think it was called, and it was really good. And as a production studio, it would be perfectly fine. I used it in a mastering studio as just a very small mastering console type of DAW control, just literally for a couple of faders, and over a period of time they wore. But then you've got to bear in mind that we're working 12 hours a day, constantly pressing, switching, solo, mute, because doing referencing. So in a production studio it'd be perfectly fine. You probably get 10 years out of it. I would go with the Icon, the smaller 8-channel Icon stuff, and it was really good, and it is a really good little DAW control, and it's cheap. I think it was about £250. Then if you were going up to like 2,000, I don't think they do 2,000. It's about £1,000 is kind of like the price range of the bigger, larger 8-channel, better built versions. They're about 800. So then if you were to go up, then I would say the one to get is the small version of this, which is 21,000. And the thing that's perfectly fine with the small version is basically a small version is just take this 8 channels off. So it's not, if you just took that off and you just got this section, it's not like you're losing a lot. You're just losing 8 channels and some plug-in control. You still get the full brunt of it. But this channel here, you're talking 13,500 for just that. So it's just an extra 8 channels. So you're not actually gaining anything. It's more of a luxury thing. It's nice to have 16 channels. I love having 16 channels. You span more across the mix. Plus you get the plug-in control on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, so you can control 2 plugins at once, or you can control 16 plugins at once on each of the each channel. So yeah, but that's a ridiculous price. That 99.9% people do not want to be spending £21,000 on DAW control. For me, it's an essential tool in my Dolby Atmos studio. So yeah, I mean, that's my recommendations on DAW controllers.